What's going on, guys? PJ here from Hyzer HQ. Gonna do a little breakdown of my tournament that I played this weekend, the Palm Beach Classic in Delray Beach, Florida. This video I'm playing out at Dreher Park, also in Palm Beach County. Can't remember what city exactly it's in, but getting into the Palm Beach Classic, if you had seen any of my videos that I posted previously, West Delray is like a super sweet course. The course played as expected. I kind of gathered that, you know, if you have clean tee shots there, it's super scoreable, but if you're not getting clean off the tee, you're gonna be scrambling basically all day and working really hard for whatever score you get, and that held pretty true. I played 3 rounds out there. 2 of them I was struggling to get off the tee clean, and those I ended up +3 and even, and there was one of them that I was getting off the tee much cleaner and I ended up -4, so that held up about as I was expecting. I'm not used to throwing that many forehands off the tee. I think I threw forehands on at least half of the tee shots, so my shoulder and arm were a little bit sore after this weekend. Super forehand friendly course. Luckily mine was working pretty well. It was weird. Normally I'm kind of a forehand hyzer flip player, but this weekend I actually was playing a lot better when I was throwing things flat and on a little bit of anhyzer, so had to make that adjustment mid-round. We got by with the forehands, so it's kind of weird. This weekend I played certain holes well all weekend and certain holes poorly all weekend. Normally I'm kind of all over the place, where one round I'm doing this one good, one round I'm doing it bad, but I think it's because this weekend I did a lot better job of not thinking about previous times I've played that hole and just focusing on it that immediate time. Yeah, it was just kind of weird that some of the holes just worked really well for me and others didn't. That's just a little bit different from how I normally play. I struggle with my grip in the morning rounds because of the humidity, and it ended up costing me strokes. This is, I mean, I guess partly just due to I'm not still quite used to the heat. I haven't eased into it. I mean, it's been so cold in Minnesota lately that coming down to Florida, the humidity was getting to me a little bit and messing with my grip. So need to figure that out before it gets warm again in Minnesota. But I think honestly, I just need a fresh chalk bag and to make sure my discs are clean the night before the tournament, just because I think they were getting a little bit sticky. My big highlight of the weekend, I almost got my first tournament ace on hole 16, which is the like 280-foot tunnel shot over the water. I threw my buzz on like a perfect flat to fade line and ended up hitting the top of the cage, bouncing up into the chains, and then bouncing out left. Like it was maybe, I don't know, 6 inches too far left to have a good chance of catching, but that was a super cool highlight. Ended up birdieing that one. It stayed close to the basket, so that was super cool. Would have been an insane first tournament ace, but I guess we'll have to wait for that tournament ace some other time, hopefully this year. I've hit the basket like 4 times during tournaments. Still haven't come up with an ace yet, but one of these days it'll happen. Overall, my mental focus was pretty good the entire tournament. I had one little mental lapse where I started getting frustrated towards the end of the first round, and I took some kind of stupid bogeys that I shouldn't have taken, but overall I would say my mental game was really solid, and again, I stayed patient this weekend, which was good. I didn't get frustrated or impatient if there was times where I wasn't birdieing multiple in a row or if I was bogeying. Overall, I stayed in the zone pretty well, except for that one little stretch of, I don't know, 5-6 holes towards the end of the first round. So made some good adjustments after that and stayed mentally strong after that. My putting was great this weekend. Obviously, you know, I'm an amateur player. I missed some here and there, but overall, my putting was really able to keep me in it and keep my rounds together. It was kind of the glue that was, not all my approaches were perfect, not all my tee shots were perfect, but I could usually make everything inside the circle. And, you know, of course, missed a couple here and there, but made up for it with some solid circle 2 putts. I think I made maybe 5 circle 2 putts over the 3 rounds, which I was really happy about. And I didn't step up to holes feeling scared of the putts. I felt excited that I could make them, which is kind of a shift for me. It was kind of interesting this weekend. I was throwing best on flat or slight anhyzer, which isn't really like me. Normally everything I do is kind of hyzer flip, and for whatever reason all my hyzer flips were just ending up coming out a little early or shanking over a little bit, holding onto them too long. So I think this is honestly a good thing. Like being able to release on a flat line is something I've struggled with in the past, so I'm happy that this is something that's working a little better for me now. than it used to, because I think that's a big step in my game in the right direction. Not having to throw everything on a little bit of hyzer. Getting the ability to start throwing flat is good. Over the course of 3 rounds, I only took 2 OB strokes, which is super good for me. There was a good bit of OB out in the open with being, you know, there were some water hazards, as well as there was some different, like if you're over the road, there was OB. None of them were super punishing, or, you know, like if you have a good shot, you can still end up OB, but I ended up only taking 2 of them. One of them was because of an unlucky skip where there was OB within the circle, and then one of them was just a bad tee shot, but I still ended up saving my bogey on that other one from the short tee. So honestly, as far as OB goes, I played about as well as I could have expected myself to, probably even better. One of the tough parts about this weekend is I did struggle to get birdies on some of the easier holes. I didn't get any on hole 15, which is just a wide open backhand hyzer, like 350 feet. I only got 1 birdie on hole 11, which is a super short par 4, and then, well, not super short, but pretty wide open, like one that I should expect to birdie probably 2 of the rounds, and then I only got 1 on 13 also, which is just a wide open par 4. That one, I just couldn't quite get any of my approaches close enough. I think I ended up basically like right at edge of circle all 3 rounds, and I only made the putt 1 time. So that one's more on that second shot than it is on the putt. It needed to be closer, but that's something I need to work on, is kind of focusing in on those easier holes and not taking them for granted. One thing I did this weekend really well was realized mid-round some of my game plan wasn't working, and I was able to switch it up. Kind of like I said before, my hyzer releases weren't working all that well for me for whatever reason. And so I think, you know, I was able to switch my discs that I was throwing, or just switching some angles slightly to account for what I was not doing all that well this weekend. And then I also was able to switch up my game plan on a couple holes, specifically hole 6. I went from the forehand to the backhand, and I didn't actually end up getting any birdies on that hole, unfortunately, but it was good that I was able to make the adjustment to throw something I was much more confident in during the tournament, rather than sticking stubbornly to the game plan that I had created. One of the things I struggled with this weekend was powering down on my shots. This is definitely a weakness in my game that I need to work on. I think one of the things that did help was when I did have to power down, making sure that I did like a practice run up and practice swing before I threw it, just so I had some sort of base to work off of. But a lot of times when I try to power down on a disc, I'll either misrelease it early or yank it too far to the right. So this is something I really need to work on, is powering down on my drivers, for the sake of, you know, if the line in the woods demands a driver, but I can't throw my driver full speed, then that's something that I really need to work on. So this whole weekend I was approaching with my Discraft Swarm quite a bit more than my Zone. This is a little bit of a change for me, because the Zone has been my go-to disc for approaches for, I mean, basically like 4 years now. I mean, it was like the first kind of game-changing disc I ever bought. So it's a little weird to start moving away from the Zone, but the Swarm just stays a little cleaner. I don't always have the best forehand release. A lot of times it comes out with wobble, and the Swarm just puts up with that a little bit more. If I have a little misrelease, it doesn't quite glide as much, so it's a little more predictable on those short up shots. It's kind of weird starting to move away from my overstable Zone. I still love my ESP Zone for those straighter approach shots, maybe on a slight flex or a slight flip up, but yeah, my Z Zone is, I don't know, starting to find its way out of the bag, which is a little bit strange. During my best round, when I shot -4, I actually missed the most putts that round. I had so many good looks just because I was getting clean off the tee, and it really could have been quite an insane round. I think I hit the basket 3 or 4 times on putts that I missed. So, I mean, if I could have converted more of those, it really would have been a pretty nutty round. And my only bogey that I had on that entire round was a missed 15 or so footer, where I just wasn't really focused up on it. So, I mean, it could have been a bogey-free 5 down, and I mean, if I had just put a couple of my putts an inch or 2 higher, I mean, it could have been 8 or 9 down. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm super happy with that score, but could have been just absolutely insane. Overall, the ratings were kind of all over the place, which was a little bit strange. My round rating for my 4 down best round that I had was 987, but in the other 2 rounds when people shot 4 down, it was 1005 or 999. I guess we'll see what happens with it when it becomes official, when the ratings get processed and added to your profile, but I don't know, I think it'll bump up quite a bit because I think they will probably combine all those rounds into one rating pool and recalculate is usually how that works with events like this. So hopefully it's close to 1,000. My guess is that it'll end up like just shy, like 998 or 997 for that round. And then the other ones I think might go up a little bit too. I don't know, remains to be seen, but yeah, overall I think it'll end up just shy of 1,000. And I think my overall tournament rating will go up from 965 or so to maybe 968, 969, but I guess we'll see what ends up happening there. I did end up taking first place, although there was only 2 people in my division. The Gulf Coast Charity Open over in Tampa was happening this weekend, and that was an A tier, and that actually had 400 plus people playing, so I think that's why this one did not get too many people. Plus they changed the tier for pros last second, and I know a couple of people dropped out of that. So small division, but I think it would have been some competitive disc golf no matter how many people would have been playing. I think in MA1, averaging mid 960s will always give you a decent chance at being competitive. So happy with how I play this weekend for sure. Up next, I've got the Martin County Open in Stuart, Florida. This is at Halpatioke Park, and this is a really short technical course where I think, you know, in MA1, you're probably gonna have to average 7 to 10 down per round over the course of the 2 rounds that we're playing if you wanna have a chance at winning. So we'll see how this one goes. I'm very excited about it, but it doesn't necessarily play to my strengths quite as much. I think I'm gonna have to get real comfortable, you know, getting a lot of birdies and make a good game plan that allows me to execute some good shots. So thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure to check out hyzerhq.com for all your tournament and league director needs. We do amateur payout handling for PDGA tournaments, as well as a full league management suite. This is all free to use for tournament directors. You can run your events, run signups, and manage your league through our tournament management software. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at hyzerhq, as well as subscribe here on YouTube. Make sure to like the video. Appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.